What's
How you
going
doing?
on?
All right, took a couple minutes for it to connect for some reason.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. I mean, it's pretty. The thing about Zoom and what we're doing is it's pretty extreme. So if we have to wait a few seconds, it's
Yeah.
really pulling some serious weight.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Where are you coming out of?
Out of Oro Valley, Arizona, near the Tucson.
Oh, wonderful. Spring Training Avenue.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, are you near
Well,
Surprise?
what's
What's
that?
Are you near Surprise?
No, that's up in Phoenix, so it's further north. It's about 100 miles plus.
Okay, okay. That's where the Royals do spring training, and I've been kind of angling to get out there at some point. I'm in Kansas City.
Yeah, yeah. We used to have, I think it was four, five teams maybe doing spring training down in our area here.
Yeah.
And for years, and it was great because you could go down, you watch them train. We'd go to
Uh-huh.
the games, before the season started. We get in there, and it was just a great time.
Yeah.
And I guess the county got kind of squirrely with them. They needed some updates and some improvements, and the county didn't want to do them, and so they lost every single one of them. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's a bummer.
it was a bummer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really like the idea of the 90-day turnaround, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. But before we do that,
Mhm.
COVID did its thing to all of us for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
We're coming out of it. How did you get through that time period, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
That's a great question. I have for many years been, well, let me back up. Our business has been a consulting company. We went into in-person uh, change transformations with business units and teams, a lot of problem solving to go in and assess the thing and figure out what the root cause was, and then help them reorganize and do whatever they need to do to attack it. And but early on, I had the notion before people were doing a lot of video conferencing. You had those big expensive systems that only the larger businesses had, and rarely used. And I found somebody who had I don't remember the name of it now. It was years ago, but it was one that was created in France. And I looked at it and I said, do you guys ever use this for um, like online workshops and that kind of thing? And they said, no, nobody's done that, but it's an interesting idea. And I said, for training or, online training, remote stuff. And they said, that'd be an interesting market to go after. And I said, well, I'd be happy to kind of play around with it. And so they gave me access to it. And I had access for like 4 or 5 years, where I could just use it and schedule things, give them feedback and things like that. It was really great. Of course, now everybody has access to it. There are competitors all over the place. But back then, there just weren't any.
Yeah.
But I found it incredibly valuable. So it's a long answer to a question, um, but so I've been doing some remote work like that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I think what what the COVID situation did is it just sort of focused our attention more on that. And I for a long time wanted to create some programs like the 90-day turnaround, take the things that we were doing in person and convert them to something that would enable people to access them remotely. And we supplement with online coaching and consulting so that we don't have to be physically there doing it, but the leader and the team can do it themselves. And we're there as a support and a guide to ensure that they're successful. So that was sort of the impetus. I think the COVID was the impetus for finally doing that and
Yeah.
figuring out how.
So let's get to exactly what you do. Clearly, after 90 days, it's a habit. That's the idea. But let's get to exactly what you do. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day. One of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do
Yeah.
you answer that child?
Yeah. So I take teams of people and I help them operate differently so that they have high engagement. People are excited to be there, passionate about doing the work, and they get tremendous results. They know how to work better together.
Which is the key. I mean, it's classic teamwork, like we were talking about baseball. Everybody's got their
Exactly.
part. you know?
Exactly. It's high engagement. It's great teamwork, and it's great leadership that supports that kind of engagement, so that they really produce at a much higher level. But and teamwork is actually absolutely a great example of how that works. You know, people forget sports is a business,
Yeah.
right? Professional sports is a business, and yet they operate so much differently, so much more effectively in many ways than other businesses.
Yeah,
And we can learn a lot from
for sure. So when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
that. I don't think I had a clue, honest, but at some point I wanted to be a professional football player.
Okay. All right. There we go. It comes back to the sports. So let me ask you
Yeah.
this, since we've been kind of talking about sports, if you could go back in time and see any sporting event firsthand, what event would you love to see?
You mean a particular game or just a sport or something?
Like a game, World Series, Super Bowl event, like anything firsthand.
Oh man. Um, you know, I was always an Oakland Raiders fan. Living in Minnesota, that was rough, let me tell
Right.
you.
I can imagine.
But yeah, I'd have to go back a ways. But back in the days of Kenny Stabler,
Yeah.
I would love to have been in person at some of the. And I don't know. I can't. If I pick a game, I guess obviously a Super Bowl game's a prime one to be at. But I mean, I would just be thrilled just to be there at any game, frankly,
Yeah.
watching them
Yeah.
in person instead of on TV.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's get to the brass tacks of like how you became who you are. So you're from Minnesota. Let's go to your childhood. What were the seeds that were put into you that have become who you are to pull people together and to help them, be different?
You know, when I was a kid, and as a lot of kids did back then, you know, I had jobs. I had summer jobs. I had after school jobs. Did the paper route thing, and when I was 12, I worked in a restaurant when I was 14, doing things that OSHA would freak out about today. But um, I could tell you that I always enjoyed jobs where I had a lot of autonomy. I like being able to figure out how to do the work better, faster, more efficiently. It just sort of came naturally for me. I just wanted to do that, um, and over the years, I kind of developed a little bit of a passion for that. Also observed the managers that I worked for and what I liked and didn't like about them. And I had a couple of them that were particularly good that I really liked working for, that I learned a lot, that didn't let me off the hook, you know, if I messed up, but took the time to teach me, and we're just great. So I'll tell you, there were two major turning points when I got a little bit older and was starting college. I had a summer job where I was working for a food dehydrator assembly plant. And I tell this story to people, people just are amazed by this. It was what I call an accidental self-directed work team. And I walk into this place, and it's just a traditional assembly line, kind of a U shape, facing the wall, with a door on the side that went into the offices in the front of the building. And on the wall was a board, a chalkboard. This dates me. It's a chalkboard up on the wall, and it said, there was written on at the top, today's goal, and there was a number. And so a couple of things unique about this. One is there was no manager to speak of, nobody around. I mean, there was a manager, but he was never present. I didn't even know who he was, didn't meet him till I'd been there for weeks. He was always somewhere else. And the person next to me that kind of showed me the ropes and got me working there for this summer job was sort of the go-to guy for me to ask questions. And I asked him about this goal. I said, "Who puts the goal up there?" And he said, "Oh, just anybody who feels like doing it." Said, "You mean from the line?" He said, "Yeah." And so it's not a supervisor. No, no, just somebody on the line. And I said, "So what makes him want to do that?" He said, "Well, I don't know." He's kind of a dry guy too, so he just nonchalant, you know. He says, "Oh, I don't know. I guess just to make things interesting." And I said, so how many people do this? And he said, there are probably 3 or 4 that do it. And how often? Oh, it's every couple of weeks. So I said, what about the number up there right now? When was that put up? He said, about a week ago. And did you guys meet the goal? And he thought for a minute. He says, yeah. And I said, well, that's pretty neat. Is that a high level? He said, it was a new record. Just like that. It was a new record. Yeah.
Wow.
No enthusiasm, no excitement. And I said, well, that's interesting. Do you guys, are you still producing at that level? He said, yeah, most of the time. I think we're pretty close, probably a little over, a little under. And sure enough, a few days went by, and came in one morning, and another number appeared. And we went through the day working like we usually do, and got toward lunch, and a couple of people called out to the end of the line where the packaging people were, so they always kept the count, and said, how many? And they'd call back and say how many, and okay. And so then lunch came, and after lunch we kind of got back into the routine. And when we got about an hour outside of lunch, people started calling out, okay, how many? And then 30 minutes later, how many? And then as we got closer to the end of the day, it was like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
People wanted to know. And we were all working hard, and had all these quality checks we had to do that would kind of slow things down. But everybody, no, you got to do those. That's part of the deal. And they have to be shippable units. And sure enough, I mean, end of the day, we beat the goal. And that just kept happening every week or two, through the summer. So no formal leader, no informal leader, in a sense. I mean, there wasn't anybody who stepped up and said, hey guys, today, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It was just the most amazing thing.
Yeah. That is pretty cool. Yeah. How you
Yeah.
can get driven that way. So who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
Who's been a hero in my life? You know, uh, my dad's a bit of a hero for me, and in a variety of ways. I mean, he was a pretty solid guy in a lot of ways, but he also had a rough life growing up. Went out joined the army during World War II. Fought in 2 wars. Was on alert in 3.
Wow.
Um, Fought on the front lines. He was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne, and just pretty committed guy, pretty tough guy. But I think his discipline was always an inspiration to me. Very disciplined guy. Always, I remember he started smoking when he was about 16 years old. He's told me smoked several packs a day. The military, of course, helped with that. And so he quit smoking, I think, in his 30s, and he just quit cold turkey. Never looked back. And he was that kind of guy where if he decided to do something, he could make the change on a dime. So I think he was an inspiration to me, because it helped me to work hard at the things I needed to overcome. Like one of the things, I was a painfully shy kid as growing up, and I still today, when I take a Myers-Briggs personality assessment, I'm an off the charts introvert. I am. A lot of people don't believe that, but I am. And so I do better one-on-one. Groups is more difficult. When I when I do keynote speeches and conferences, it just drains the lifeblood out of me. It just exhausts me. I don't mind doing it. It's fine to do. I'm comfortable with that, but it just sucks energy out of me.
Yeah.
So I had to do some things to overcome that. And I would say my wife was very inspiring in that. We got married young and early in college years, and she inspired me to take a public speaking class and do things that were uncomfortable for me. And as a result, I think it's helped me tremendously to learn to just focus on the things that are tough to do, to overcome the things that are clearly holding you back.
So is there somebody in the realm of business that you admire that you would love to meet and talk to?
I have met a lot of people that I admire in the business. Honestly, in my field, Dick Beckhard, Dave Ulrich, um, uh, I've known, met Dan Pink. I just there are a lot of people I have a lot of respect for that I have had the privilege of meeting, and Chris Argyris, who's no longer with us, but had an association with him for years. I've been blessed that way and learned a lot from people. I think one person I always wanted to, actually two people I always wanted to meet that I was never able to meet. One was Rincis Lickert, who was living in Hawaii, and rumor had it there was an effort to bring him back to uh, the Western United States to help out with a class. But he was in his late 80s, I want to say. He was pretty up in the years, and I thought I would have an opportunity to meet him, and that didn't happen, unfortunately. And the other was Ed Deming, W. Edwards Deming,
Yeah.
the quality guru. I have tremendous respect for. Always wanted to have an opportunity to spend a little time with him, and just never did.
So what is the driving force for you every day to do what you do? What is the fuel for you? What gets you through the day?
Making a difference. I have to make a difference. When I do consulting or work with clients, I want to see big differences, big changes, and I don't mean people doing things differently without results, but I want to see big results. And so that's always been a drive of mine, is to show people. And I love the look on their faces when I show people, that you can, in some cases, we double productivity. And of course, they never believe that when you tell them up front. But when I find out what's missing, what's wrong, and I see how fixable it is, and I get them back on the right track, and they, within a few months, they've gotten these incredible results, and they just said, wow, I never would have believed this was possible. I said, yeah, and that's exactly what I love about this work. I make
Yeah.
the impossible possible. And that's what drives me. I love helping people to have great experiences at work where they can really feel a sense of meaning and purpose, and that they can bring their whole selves, and they can feel really happy with themselves, what they've been able to contribute, and in a way that makes the organization more successful. I love doing that, and that's sort of the driver for me. I got to see results.
Yeah. Yeah. So of all of the clients that you've been involved with, what's been your favorite success story?
Well, my favorite success was before I went into consulting, and that was Magma Copper Company, the turnaround there that I was involved with. But just a wonderful showcase transformation experience. But um, there was one, actually a couple of them I really liked. Well, let me just tell you, one was with a biosciences group. It did a lot of the genetic testing for Family Tree, National Geographic, and we're having some challenges. They were pretty desperate when they called me, and um, they had a backlog of work, like 9 months, I believe, and they were having quality problems that were closing the place down, just shutting the process down, and just a disaster, and it was affecting the customers' confidence in them, and the customer was threatening to leave and find another provider, and that was their primary customer, that is. So they were pretty desperate. So senior leadership called me and said, we got to stop the hemorrhaging. Can you come like tomorrow? And I said, well, I was traveling, working with another client, and I had another one I had to go to from there. And I said, well, this isn't the first time I've gotten a call like this. So, just take a deep breath. I'll work through some things over the phone, but I'll schedule I've got a quick stop. I'm going to be back in town in where you are, and and I can meet with you and get something started. It'll be a couple of weeks before I get back, but we'll do some things to help to kind of slow down the hemorrhaging and until we can get to root cause and fix it. But yeah, that was a great experience where we took that organization and really turned it around, got people working differently, taking higher level of accountability for the outcomes. They had already brought in robotics and all kinds of things they thought would solve the problems, and it failed. And I said, it's because that's not what the problem is. You're not addressing the root cause, and it's really about how people are working and their perspective about the work and their commitment to it, and then how you're working as leaders. That was a big factor, and so we're going to change all that. So worked with them. We got leaders working differently. We got people oriented to the organization, the business, built their business literacy and helped them understand the impact they had on it and on each other. Broke down the silos. And within 3 months, that was another case where they literally doubled productivity. Actually, through attrition, had lost a few people because of some changes in schedules and things that they had done. But they ended up being able to cut all the overtime that they'd been doing. And within a few months, they were pretty well caught up on the backlog and did such a tremendous job. Quality problems virtually disappeared. And their primary customer came and expanded their offerings and asked them to be the provider for those things. So it was just a great success story. Really enjoyed the work and the results that they got.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you're in control of yourself. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I think down to earth. People ask me, I give it to them straight. I don't think I'm tactless when I do it, but I'm pretty straightforward guy. I think I've had plenty of people comment that I have integrity, that means a lot to me, to maintain my integrity and to have that as an important part of my reputation. And I think people see that. I believe in people, and I have tremendous optimism and belief in people, and I hope that shows when I work with them.
Wonderful, Kevin. If anyone wants to hire you or learn more about your business model, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Best place to go is superchargemyteam.com. They can go to Ascent Management Consulting.com, but it's easier to say superchargemyteam.com. It takes them to the website, and there's a tool there that I'm giving to people that they can use to help supercharge their team and get their team working more effectively together.
Great. Cool, man. Kevin, thank you very much for opening up. Thank you for giving us a window into your world, and best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Great being here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Take care.
You too.
See you later.